So today we're gonna be talking about Burkitt's lymphoma. But we cannot talk about Burkitt's lymphoma without knowing what a lymphoma is. A lymphoma is actually a neoplasm, a malignant neoplasm of the lymphoid tissues. Now, lymphoma is divided into two. Based on classification, we have two types. We have the Hodgkin's lymphoma and we have the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The Hodgkin's lymphoma is merely characteristic of some cell type we call the Reed-Steinberg cells, but not like that of the non-Hodgkin's. So we don't talk about Reed-Steinberg when we're talking about the non-Hodgkin's. Now, I'm not going to go into more details, but I'm going to go into Burkitt lymphoma. Now, Burkitt lymphoma is a type of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So, Burkitt lymphoma is a fast-growing and aggressive non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So, this particular Burkitt lymphoma, it's been caused by mostly, we say, Epstein-Barr virus, and to some extent malaria parasite, mostly Plasmodium falciparum. And then we can classify Burkitt lymphoma into three. We have the endemic or the African Burkitt lymphoma. We have the sporadic Burkitt lymphoma, and we have the immunodeficiency associated Burkitt lymphoma. Now, we talk about the epidemiology of this lymphoma. Now, the endemic or African Burkitt lymphoma is mostly found in the tropical parts of Africa. So, but when we talk about the sporadic Burkitt lymphoma, it is found all over the world. So, if you're not African or you're not coming from Africa or you didn't visit Africa and you're presenting with a Burkitt lymphoma, it is most unlikely to be African Burkitt lymphoma. And then we have immunodeficiency associated. And here we talk about the immunosuppressed. And so we talk about people that have HIV infections and people that have immune deficiencies, like people that have been on steroid drugs for a very long time. So these people are susceptible to having Burkitt's lymphoma. Now, what is the pathophysiology of Burkitt lymphoma? Actually, Burkitt lymphoma is due to the CMYSC translocation, which causes increased constitutive levels of CMYSC. You're confused, right? I was at first, but now we'll have what we call the proto-oncogene, right? And we'll have the IG, that is the immunoglobulin. Now, the proto-oncogene has the CMYSC at position number 8, and then the immunoglobulin has the IgH at position 14. So the translocation at positions 8 and 14 would actually lead to what we call Burkitt lymphoma, because after that we'll have a proto-oncogene, which is CMYSC at the position 14 of the immunoglobulin, and this will trigger what we call the amplification. Now, amplification and increase in proliferation of all those lymphoid cells. Okay, but it is also noticed that there could also be a translocation at positions 8 and 22, and also at positions 2 and 8. But the major one everybody knows is position 8 and 14. So now, what are the symptoms and signs of someone having a Burkitt lymphoma? Now, so the person will present with maybe a jaw mass if it's African type of Burkitt lymphoma, You can present with lymph adenopathy in any of them, and can also present with abdominal mass, which is mostly in the sporadic type. Other signs, we call them B signs, include fever, pruritus, and all that. And so those are signs of Burkitt's lymphoma. Now, what do we do? What are the investigations we do? So, if you look at actually that child here, you notice a jaw, that the jaw of the child is enlarged. That is Burkitt's lymphoma. Now, the investigations we do it for diagnosis and staging, right? So, we do CT scan and PET scan. Can do bone marrow biopsy, nodal biopsy. You can do lumbar puncture to check if there is CNS involvement. Now, why do we do this? But what is the appearance of um, the cells in microscopy? It is actually, they said we represent it with we actually say stars in the blue sky. That's the type of slide you see, and that's the next thing you're going to be looking at now. So the stars represent the macrophages, which are mostly the histiocytes, while the blue sky, which is the background, represents the malignant lymphocytes. Now, the prognostic factors include age. People that are less than humans that are less than 12 years, race, if you're an African, hyperuricemia, which is more of a tumor lysis syndrome. You can also have tumor burden at presentation after surgical resection. So all these things are prognostic factors. Okay, so that's Burkitt lymphoma for us. And now, if you talk about the management, talk about chemotherapy. You use drugs like the cyclophosphamide, vincristine, you adriamycin, and use methotrexate to manage Burkitt lymphoma. Thank you.